This is a race in the rain against the Sport Snap. I'm using the regular Brema, so my opponent's going to have a boatload more power. But as you can see here, he already went in way too hot in this roundabout and crashed. They are going to update the AI, so he's probably going to be a bit better in the next update, so I will redo this race when they do pop that out. But yeah, I was able to just keep ahead on the roundabouts here. So I knew this straight right here was going to be my biggest weakness because he just has way more power, and yeah, he immediately passed me right here. He goes in a bit too hot, but he doesn't crash this time. I kind of did too, so I went a bit wide, but not too bad. We made a bit of contact there on the exit, but nobody crashed, and we were side by side for a sec. Right here I went in a little too hot and hit the wall, but I managed to keep up with him still, and I mainly just wanted to keep his slipstream in sight, that way I wouldn't lose him. Again, I went in way too hot and made contact with the wall here. This right here is a good example of a good exit. Boom. Aligned right with the parking spots, didn't make contact with the wall. My opponent was taking the turn pretty wide, but so did I. But I shot out pretty well, and I was able to keep up with the slipstream. Wasn't really going for an overtake here, but I just felt like I could outbrake him, so I just did it anyways, and it paid off. I jumped ahead of him, and he was right on my tail this entire turn. But again, it paid off. I got too ahead of myself though and ended up hitting the wall here. Of course, on this straight, he came out of nowhere and just passed me. I managed to pass him again on the roundabout, and we made a bit of contact at the exit, but I passed him and managed to stay ahead of him on the straight too. Entered this pretty quick, but you know, he was still on my tail this entire time, so I was feeling a lot of pressure. And of course, on the straightaway, he passed me. On the roundabout, we collided again. I think our lines were just crossing each time we were going into this. But I eventually got the 5 mile mark notification, and I just knew I had to put the pressure on. So on the straightaway, he decided to overtake me on the outside, but I managed to overtake him again on the inside on this turn. I even managed to keep the lead on the roundabout. If you pay attention to the minimap here, you can see I made a gap with my braking. Again, he manages to just soar past me on the outside here on the straight. So this time on the roundabout, one of the most luckiest things happened. But yeah, I ended up colliding with my opponent, and he ran straight into the wall. I knew at this point I had enough of a lead that I can relax a bit, but not enough to let him catch up and catch up to my stream. He didn't even manage to catch me on the straight either. Coming up on the roundabout, you can see when I'm exiting the roundabout, he's actually entering, if you notice on the minimap. Again, on the roundabouts, you can see the gap if you pay attention to the minimap. Again, I managed to keep him out of sight on this straight, which is really fortunate. At this point, I honestly felt like I was the one driving a sport car, because I was just flying through these turns. But yeah, you can see he was still closing the gap little by little. I got the 1 mile remaining notification. I knew I had to try my best at this point. Again, you can see here he's starting to slowly close the gap on me. It's hard to see, but he was behind me on the straight, but again, he didn't manage to overtake me. At this point, he was basically on my tail, and the final phase was about to start, so I just knew I really had to keep going, and yeah, the final phase was started, which means that pretty much I just got to get to the finish line at this point. The 9 miles that we ran are up, but yeah, he was right behind me on this roundabout, and I was just really scared. I knew at this straight coming up that he was probably going to pass me, but I tried my best just to keep going as fast as I could. He wasn't able to catch up, and I tried to take this last turn as best as I could to get as close to the wall as I could, and I did a perfect job at it. And boom, I won, and I celebrated.